Today on Free Field Training, we're going to be talking about dealing with animal complaints and specifically how to use an animal catch pole. If this is the first time you've seen an animal catch pole and talking about how to deal with aggressive dogs in yards, don't be surprised because most police academy training doesn't cover this type of thing because it's not specifically a police topic. It's normally not on the schedule of what you're supposed to learn. What ends up happening is we get people out of the academy and they come into field training and we say, well, there's no training task even for this. We get a call and the boss is like, here you go, here's catch pole. Just go show the new guy how to do it. So today on Free Field Training, we're showing the new guy how to do it, or maybe the old guy, or maybe somebody that used to work in a town that had their own dedicated animal control and now they're working into a smaller town or a larger town that doesn't have animal control. They just make you deal with it. So if this is the first time you've ever seen a catch pole, to understand kind of the whole topic, this is generally speaking what we're given by the agency or by the town to deal with all animal complaints. Now there's some ancillary equipment we're going to talk about here really shortly that you should really think about having on hand when you're doing this. But this is generally the only specialized gear that we get. Anything else we have to go scrounge at Public Works or from the station basement or wherever. Now, an animal catch pole is a pretty simple device, but it's not intuitive. And so we're going to talk about how it works here. There's this cable loop on the end of it. And this cable loop on the end gets tighter when I pull on this cable that's on the other end. So I pull this cable that's on one end, and it gets tighter on this end, and it gets really, really small. In order to release the loop, once you tighten it up, you simply pull the locking collar, and if the catch pole isn't all jacked up, it lets the cable back out again. It opens the loop back up. Gotcha.
Tommy.
Come on, Stink.
No.
Catch poles have grips generally in the middle here and on the end. This allows you to get good solid control of whatever you're dealing with. And then it's going to have a red sheath generally, or a light blue sheath on the end. And this is designed so that when dogs bite on this, they don't mess their teeth up for whatever reason. We're super worried about that. And then here's the locking mechanism and the cable mechanism on the end. You don't want to take one of these apart because God knows if you'll be able to get it back together again. I've never tried to take one apart. Maybe we'll do it with this one. I bought this one to do this video. Thank you to all my patrons. Also, thank you to everybody who's following me over on Instagram. They are watching this live and they're going to be able to ask comments and questions when the video is over. So if you want to see their comments and questions, or you want to be part of the conversation next time, go over to Instagram, check out my Instagram TV, follow me on Instagram, and turn on your notifications for when I do live streams. Now, this one I bought on Amazon. They're about $100 to $150 on Amazon, depending on the size that you get. This is the 6-foot one, if you believe that. No, this is the 5-foot one, and it's the minimum size that I recommend for most people to use. If you're going to have to buy one of these to do it yourself, or if you're looking through the pile of them at Public Works or at the animal control office that's not staffed because everybody retired years ago because it wasn't worth dealing with anymore, I suggest you grab the 5-foot one if it's available. It gives you the most options for dealing with the tactics that we're going to show in a second. Now, down in the description is an Amazon link for this. If you use that link, I make a little bit of money, but since most people are just going to go scrounge one of these and not spend their own $100, I expect that link to make like 27 cents over the next 10 years, so don't worry about it. But it is an Amazon affiliate link, and if you have to buy one and use those Amazon affiliate links, you help me out a whole lot. Now, this video is also sponsored by Olight, who has their flash sale going on. Olight's flash sale this month is on the Balder S. The Balder S is a compact 600 lumen light and laser combo. That's all to the good. It's pretty easy to attach. That's pretty good. Some downsides, though. It is a rechargeable. That could be a good or a bad, but in this case, if you take the light off of the gun to go recharge it, now you have to re-zero the laser that's on it, so that's something to think about. Also, nobody that I'm aware of is making duty holsters for this light laser compact combo things. You're probably going to have to use a duty holster for something else that this just happens to fit into, and that's not ideal. Positive, the 600 lumens is pretty effective. You can see here at decent distance the light really throws. The green laser is pretty eye-catching. The negative to that, though, is that you only get that light output for a short period of time. There's a fairly quick step down within a couple of minutes. So for something that you're going to use occasionally, that's fine. For field searches, not so much. You're going to be back down to your 150 to 200 lumen weapon light again pretty quickly in a field search situation where you're going to be out there for several hours. Things to think about: the flash sale link is down in the description. If you use that link, give me a little bit of help. If not, hey, hopefully you find a light that you like. So one thing that's important to know when you're dealing with animal complaints is that animals aren't dumb. They might be young and they might not know how to use tools, but they know what tools are. And generally speaking, if you get out of your car with one of these, you're going to know immediately whether or not the dog or cat or whatever has been caught with one of these before. Especially dogs. Now, cats are always kind of wary of these, and dogs look at them and go, "Oh, what's that thing that they're trying to put around my neck?" But dogs, if they've been snared with one of these and taken to animal control or taken to the pound or animal welfare, they take off in a mighty big hurry. You get the scared look in their eyes and they beat feet, and that's your sign that this is going to be a difficult day for you. You're going to have a hard time snaring that dog back up. The other result that you get from these very often with dogs is if they have been snared before and it's an aggressive dog, they are going to start trying to bite the snare because they see this coming at them as the bad guy. The way this works ideally is the dog that you're getting a call about, or the feral the raccoon or whatever that's in somebody's house, is just going to be sitting there, and you're going to take this 6-foot or 5-foot pole with the snare on the end, and you're going to put it around the neck of the animal, just kind of like gently put it over its head, and then tighten up. And then this back mechanism automatically locks. So once it's tightened, it doesn't come loosened up unless you pull on this locking collar individually. And then once you have it tightened up, you can kind of guide them into wherever you want them to go. Now, these poles tell you in the instructions not to try to lift the animal up to put them into whatever. I don't know how that would honestly work. I'm sure there's some safety reason for that, or maybe it's just because 90% of these poles that are used by cops in the world end up getting bent up because somebody tries to pick up a 90-pound Rottweiler with it. But generally speaking, you don't need the catch pole if the dog's like some little flu-foo dog or a dog like mine that you're going to be able to just throw a rope around its neck or clip something to its collar and be like, "Come on, want to go for a car ride?" and hop it right in. But if you have something that you actually need a catch pole for, generally speaking, you're going to have to give it a little oomph, get the puppy into the car. And that raises a great point. If you don't need the catch pole, because animals are so averse to it, very often it's best to just take either a leash that you can get or an extension cord or pretty much any piece of cordage. What I found works really well is the strap from my duty bag. I take the strap off my duty bag and just clip it onto the dog's collar and be like, "You want to go for a car ride?" and open the door. Sometimes just opening the door and saying, "You want to go for a car ride?" the dog hops right in. Good enough. Just make sure it's your back door, not your front door. I've made that mistake before. If you have an animal that want to go for a car ride isn't going to work for, or if you have a cat that's injured or a raccoon or something like that, pro tip, don't use these on skunks. You're just going to want to walk up, put the snare around its neck, tighten it up. Now you've got it by the neck and you kind of like lead it to wherever it's going to go. Generally speaking, the back of the car works out. Unless you have a dedicated dog crate or cage, those are fantastic in order to take the animal to animal control or to animal welfare or wherever your agency drops them off at. Some considerations for using the catch pole and for animal complaints, some ways that you can get the animals into an area. One is to lure them with treats. It's bacon strips work really well on dogs. Peanut butter works really well on just about any other animal, and that's if they seem like they're just leery of you, but they're not leery of the idea of a treat. And most animals are going to be leery of a person in a uniform with a big metal object that makes clanking noises when it gets near them. But they're not really leery of peanut butter. So having peanut butter or bacon strips around really makes this process go a lot easier. Once you lure them with treats, you can kind of snare them and just walk them into the car or pick them up, put them into the car, whatever you need to do. The other thing that you should think about doing, especially with smaller animals, you got possums, cats, raccoons, things like that in a house. You can lure them into a particular room and then snare them. We like to call it contain and snare. Contain the animal to one space and then snare it. With dogs, the same type of thing. You can get them into a yard, even if it's not their yard. Close the gate, and then you've got them contained to an area, and there's only so far they can run. Most dogs, you're going after them with this thing, and they take off, and you go over to that corner, and they take off over to this corner, and you're going over to that corner trying to snare them, that type of thing. Now, the important thing is aggressive dogs, and that's when we really need the catch pull, because there's not going to be a lot of other methods. This makes it easier for most animals to be able to snatch them up and toss them in the car, but with aggressive dogs, we need to think a little faster than the dog does. So one thing to think about with aggressive dogs is to contain them in a yard, and if they're angry and they want to bite us and anybody else in the neighborhood, very often we can chase them into a yard using a car. Most animals are not really happy about the idea of getting run over by a Ford Explorer, except my dog who wants to run at cars. I don't know what her problem is, but most animals, you drive a Ford Explorer at them with lights on and hit the air horn a couple times and they run away. And so if you're in a suburban or an urban area where you can chase the dogs into a yard and then close the fence, or you can chase the dogs into a yard and then close a gate, you close that gate and then walk up to the fence, and the dog comes up to the fence and starts at the fence, and you can be like, oh yeah, over the fence, and then look at that, walking back over to the gate. And now you've got your dog, you've got them on the pole, they're all tightened up, and you minimize the risk of getting a chunk taken out of your leg or shooting a rover. And we'd all like to avoid the possibilities of getting a chunk taken out of our leg or shooting a rover. Another method that's worked really well for super aggressive dogs, if we can't run them into a yard, is actually to tase them out the window of the car. One thing people don't think about is that the taser probes, I'll put a link up there to how tasers work. They shoot one out straight and one at an angle down. So you want to turn the taser sideways in order to tase a dog. And the great thing about that is being able to tase the dog keeps us from having to shoot it, because you can literally roll your window down and tase the dog out the window with minimal risk to yourself, and have somebody else waiting with a catch pole hop out of a passenger side of a squad, catch pull the dog while it's being tased. While it's under power, catch pull the dog. Don't worry about the metal to metal. These, hold on to your rubber grips, catch pull the dog. You're probably only going to get a little juice, if any at all. And then once the taser shut off, put that puppy in the back of the car, literally put the puppy in the back of the car and be done with it. If you've got bars on the back windows of your car, the great thing about the 5-foot pole is you can push the dog all the way into the car with the back window rolled down, slide this between the poles, the bars in the back window, and close the door, and this will literally be sticking out of the car. So when you get to wherever you got to drop this angry pit bull off at, you can already have control of the dog, push him to the other side of the car, have somebody open the door and get the catch pull out, and you've already got them back catch pulled instead of releasing them into the back seat, where now you have a dog contained in the back seat of the car that might bite you when you get to animal control or wherever else. Another option is to set live traps, and it's important to know your limitations. If there's a raccoon or a possum or a cat and you're just not able to get it immediately with the catch pull, you spend half an hour on this task and you're like, that's enough of this. Live traps are fairly cheap. You can find them if you look deep enough into most public works departments or fire departments. Somewhere a city's going to have a live trap sorted out, or you go talk to some neighbors and see who has a live trap. I own a couple of them for my property, and I always have a little metal live trap. You get an animal in a wall or an attic or something like that. You take a little peanut butter, put it on the tab that releases it, that trips it, set it up, put it out, tie it down so it doesn't go anywhere unless it's inside of a house, and then you just come back a few hours later and pick up your little cage with the animal already caught inside of it. That's very helpful for squirrels, raccoons, possums. Again, skunks, you're kind of taking your life in your own hand with the skunk. You might end up getting sprayed if you try to use it, or if you don't know it's a skunk, you show up, you got a live trap in a house with a skunk in it. That gets to be a very, very big issue for those of us who have had to deal with it before, and I ended up getting sprayed last time we did that, so that's always fun. So that's a little bit about animal complaints and specifically how to use one of these catch poles. Remember, the links for that Olight sale are down in the description, and also the link for the catch pole in case you need one and you want to know which one I suggest. I recommend the one that there's the link to. I know it's a little more expensive than the ones that are just a cord running through a piece of PVC pipe, but the cord through the PVC pipe doesn't auto lock, and I've never had any luck with those. A couple of guys have bought them at work and then ended up going right back to the catch pole the department bought. If you guys have any comments or questions, please leave them down in the comment section down below. I'd be happy to try to help you out as best I can. I'm not an animal control officer, but I do play one on the street sometimes when we don't have anybody around. Till next week, you guys be safe. Take care of each other. Hey, thanks for watching Free Field Training on YouTube. And while you're here, why don't you check out some of these other goofy videos that I've made? Or you could subscribe or maybe go over to Patreon and see how you get your name put on the videos like these fine folks over here. All the links are, of course, down in the description. We'll see you guys next time.